to our video overviewing our training methodology. My name is Mark Bernard. I have extensive experience in this field, also as a trainer and a consultant. As part of the methodology, we're going to be reviewing objective, pre-testing, participatory learning, and post-testing. The 40-minute lesson plan consists of the first 10 minutes preparation and pre-testing of students to understand where they're at with their skills, and then we deliver the lesson for the next 20 minutes, including instructional objectives for the lesson, and then we request feedback from the participants, spending about 7 minutes on that area. And then finally we get to the post-test to test to see if the skills and the knowledge were transferred as per the instructional objective, and also to gather some feedback from the students. The instructional objective helps set the goal for the session and the lesson. In order for the goal and the objective to be achieved, it has to be clearly defined. There are several types of learning objectives depending on what the skills transfer goals are for the lesson. Our methodology is based on best practices and well-known elements of well-defined objectives. To begin with, a clearly defined objective sets the tone for the type of material and the techniques used to transfer the skills during the lesson. Clearly defined objectives also help to set the tone and the scope for the skills that will be transferred during the lesson. Clearly defined objectives also help the learners to prepare the materials and their minds for the lesson that's about to commence. There are three types of learning objectives. The first one is cognitive, where intellectual outcomes improves the knowledge of the student who participates in the course. The second type of skills transfer that might happen, or learning objective, involves psychomotor, where the student or the learner gathers new techniques or tools that they can apply in their job. The third type of learning objective involves affective attitudes, values, and beliefs. This is where a student picks up new knowledge and changes the way that they approach the subject in the business environment. Elements of well-defined objectives include performance. What will the learner have accomplished by the end of the course? What can they take away with them and apply in their new job, or perhaps a job that they're applying for in the future? Of course, the conditions in which the classroom is executed, whether it's online or in face-to-face lessons, will affect how the student learns. Under elements of well-defined objectives, criteria is extremely important. This is where the instructor will evaluate the student's materials and exercises to determine if they've achieved the skill transfer. The pretest is extremely important so that the instructor can make adjustments to the delivery of the course and leverage the experience of the student and the knowledge that they already have obtained. The pretest can be conducted orally in face-to-face meetings or as part of a questionnaire during online training. The benefits to the instructor are to provide feedback so that they can make adjustments to the delivery of the material, also to adjust the participants' understanding of the objectives and to help focus their mind. The benefits to the participant are that it allows the instructor to provide immediate feedback to help motivate and adjust the student's understanding of what their knowledge is and how it fits into the lesson that's being delivered. Depending on the instructional objective, the post-test is sort of a wrap-up to check to see if we achieved our goal. There are three potential outcomes from the lesson. The first one is knowledge transfer. This can be conducted in a number of ways. It could be through an exam, a test, true or false, most correct answers, and then handed back to the instructor. The first area that the post-test checks for is knowledge transfer. The second is skill. We want to see if the student can actually apply the knowledge that they picked up during the lesson. The third area that we want to check for as part of the post-test is attitude. So we want to understand how the student feels about the knowledge and how they apply it. And this might be done through an essay, for example. One of the most important parts of learning is the participatory part, how we involve students And this involves communication. We want to provide constructive communication that's descriptive rather than evaluative. To help keep the student focused, we want to make sure that our communication is very specific and not general. We want to make sure that our communication during the course takes into consideration what the student already knows. Our communication also has to be focused on opportunities for improvement as opposed to the individual. Another important characteristic is that we wait for the questions to come in rather than imposing our opinions. Timing is everything, and in communications, especially timing is important. Another important characteristic is to ensure that the communication was understood and checking to make sure that it is understood. When receiving communication from the learner, we may ask for clarifications to ensure that we also understand. A technique that we use to clarify communications is to paraphrase what we heard. During in-person lessons, we want to make sure that we make eye contact with the person communicating with us. When we receive feedback from the learner, we accept both negative and positive feedback. We're open to it all. When we receive feedback, we may ask for additional clarifications to ensure that we're going to respond accordingly. One thing that our students can always expect from us is that we give honest opinions based on experience. We want to build on the confidence of the learners, so we will focus on the positive. When we receive feedback, we'll also help the student determine what the importance is by prioritizing subjects. The emotions that the learner might be experiencing during the course could cloud the focus on the content, so we will try and provide feedback and communications that will help clarify the subject and focus on the topic. Our training methodology also takes into consideration Bloom's taxonomy and the 6 phases of knowledge transfer. We begin by providing the knowledge and then checking to make sure that the student understands what it is that we gave them. Now that the participant has acquired this new knowledge and they understand it, we want to give them the opportunity to flex their new knowledge, so we give them some exercises that they can execute to determine if they can apply it correctly. Once the participant can demonstrate that they can apply the knowledge, we want to give them some scenarios to check to see if they can analyze the outcomes correctly, perhaps during a problem resolution situation. During the 5th phase of knowledge transfer, we will give the student some scenarios where they can evaluate the output from the process that they've been learning about. The final stage of knowledge transfer is to determine if the student can synthesize the knowledge that they've acquired so that they can analyze a problem, determine the root cause, break it apart, and reconstruct it. Our training methodology also looks at 4 learning styles that involve feeling, watching, thinking, and doing. These learning styles involve some crossover in between the 4 different areas during each lesson, where students may be experiencing different types of styles during the same period of time. Each of these crossovers help to explain what the student goes through as they have new feelings about knowledge and they continue to watch and learn about the exercises. Our training methodology understands that as new skills are picked up, students constantly are going through these phases. As students pick up new skills, they're constantly observing and conceptualizing abstract concepts within their mind. This is called a simulation, where they are thinking and watching during the same period as the skills are being transferred. Our training methodology understands what's going on with the student as we deliver these lessons. During the lesson, students have been developing new feelings about the knowledge that's being transferred as they watch and think about the content. And in between thinking and doing, we have converging, where they're thinking and doing. So this goes back and forth as the student acquires these new skills and begins to build on their knowledge. During the lesson and exercise, students are constantly thinking and doing. During the lesson and the exercises that are applied, students are constantly building up on their skill sets. Their feelings are changing constantly as they execute the new knowledge and apply it. They test it and then they reapply it, and this further changes their feelings about the knowledge. Our methodology understands how people learn, and this cycle continues during each lesson. During each lesson, something is happening called the process continuum. It's about how we do things during each exercise. It's also about how we think about things. This is called the perception continuum that happens during each lesson. The processing continuum and the perception continuum are working in tandem constantly during each of our lessons. Our training methodology looks at learning styles as an essential component of the skills transfer and the buildup of experience and skills so that we have successful outcomes at the end of each lesson. Our training methodology helps students understand what their current skills are and set new targets so that they can expand into the skills that are necessary for today's cybersecurity world. This also helps to reduce the threats and incidents to our organizations and improves the quality of our programs as part of the goal of the overall cybersecurity program. As students pick up these new skills as part of our lessons and apply them at their jobs, they help to stabilize their own environments. Our training methodology helps to establish a win-win for the organization and the professionals that work within it. Our training methodology also includes a self-evaluation process where the student can establish where their skills are today and set targets for the future. This will be based on Bloom's taxonomy and the knowledge transfer methodology that we based as part of the best practices. Thank you for your time. This concludes my presentation on our training methodology at Secure Knowledge Management Incorporated. We hope that you choose us to be your training partner for your cybersecurity program.